Hello and welcome to another stream of me learning, not Laravel, I was going to say Laravel, but me learning PHP. So this series is PHP for beginners. It's available on laracast.com and on youtube.com for free. Both of those links are in the description. In today's episode, we are going to create a service container. I'm super excited to learn what that means. Let's dive right into it.
All right. Hi, everybody. I don't want to do this, but we should talk person to person for just 1 minute. I don't mean I don't want to talk to you, but I get it. You want to see the code. I do too. I can relate. But we still need to talk about one quick thing.
I would love to talk to you one-on-one any day, Jeffrey. Don't be sorry about this.
We will be discussing the service container in this video. And I want to talk to you because we're starting to creep into more complex territory that you don't necessarily need to build yourself, and yet I still want you to understand the basic premise and the basic concept.
We started to creep into it probably around the time we started building our own router, but I appreciate you taking us through it and giving us a look under the hood. Thank you, Jeffrey.
So really, if you think about it, all of the things we've been building over the last 10 episodes or so, like even validation, but our router, our database class, this container, we're going to add an app class. Once you start using a framework like Symfony or Laravel, they will provide these things for you for free. That's why it's called a framework. It gives you everything you need. So
I'm so glad you admitted to that. Thank you. I didn't know even validation was available in these frameworks.
Even though I'm showing you how to build some of these things, in real life, most of the time you're not really going to maintain these yourself. You're going to use off-the-shelf tools that are, to be honest, way better. You shouldn't, in most cases, you shouldn't build your own. And yet I'm still showing you because, again, I want you to have a general understanding of what's going on here, rather than it being some kind of black box that you don't really understand. Okay, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to show you how to build a container in this lesson, and we can make it as complicated or as simple as we want, but still...
Jeffrey, what's a container?
If it feels a little too much or a little too overwhelming, just remember, in the future, you won't be building this yourself. So if you just want to skip over it even, nobody's going to judge you. Okay, let's...
Thank you so much for saying that, Jeffrey.
Let's get going. I'm going to switch into PHP Storm. And if I go into, for example, my controller, notes, destroy action, you will remember in a bunch of places we have code just like this, where we need to instantiate our database class in order to execute some SQL. Okay, so keep in mind that each time we instantiate...
Yeah, pause. We're instantiating the database class a number of times. Basically, every single time we're calling a controller like destroy, store, or show. Yeah, even index, I think. Yeah.
A database, we also have to build up the necessary configuration to pass to the constructor. And you'll remember we set that configuration right here.
Yes.
But yeah, my point is, it's just a little annoying that I have to redo this every single time I want to perform a database query. So we have it here, here, we have it here, and then, yeah, we have it there again. It's just a waste. And as you can imagine, for real applications, this will constantly be a concern, not just for a database class, but for everything. You will constantly have objects that require a lot of configuration or a lot of tweaking in order to instantiate. You might need a certain public key or a private token, or you'll have to instantiate a dependency of a dependency to pass it in here. And it gets very time consuming. So instead, it would be nice if I could just do this a single time and then throw it in a container of sorts. Like just throw it in there, and then if I need it, I can take it out of it.
So what I understand is this is what a service container is. It is something that provides you a predictable service that can be consumed throughout the app, and it is self-contained instead of having to re-implement it over and over again like we did in the notes controllers. What we need to do is just do it once and then consume that service container.
The container. That's what we're going to build in this video.
Okay.
So I keep using this word container. That sounds like a pretty good name for our class. So I will do that now. And I'll call it container, and PHP Storm will auto-create the class for me. And then I did say we'll need to add things to the container and then remove them from the container. And in fact, I really like this super simple 5-year-old terminology. However, again, just in the spirit of future frameworks you might use, why don't we change these to bind something into the container or add, and then resolve to grab things out of the container. So a little more complex, but also, again, immediately familiar once you graduate to a framework like Laravel. Okay, so what's the next step?
Okay, let me do this. Let's follow along. Inside the core directory, we have a new class called container.php, and this is a PHP public class container. Okay, let's go. It has a public function called, let's just say add for now. Why are you yelling at me? And then a public function called remove. Okay, save it. What are you expecting? Oh, this is not valid syntax. This is okay, but instead of add and remove, we're calling it bind and okay, so bind to the container and resolve from the container. I'll just leave a comment there saying add to the container. I think there should be a space here, and there should be fetch from the container. I'll say add, that's fine, add to the container and fetch from the container. Okay.
All right, so let's do this. I'd like some kind of playground. So I'm going to create a new file, and we will call it bootstrap.php. And then our index file will require it. So for now, why don't we do it right here? Require base path bootstrap.php. Okay, and we're probably going to keep that file too. But now I have a little playground where I can tinker and figure out how I want to interact with this container.
Okay, let's do this. I'll have here bootstrap.php and PHP echo works, and I'm gonna go to index.php, the main one, and I will require it here. Require base path bootstrap dot, this should be, yeah, quotes, a string, require bootstrap dot php. Okay, so anything after this line will basically be ignored for now. Let's go. Yeah, it works. Oh, because I'm not dying, it I can't kill the execution here. Okay, but right now this works.
So I know I want to say new container, all right, and that automatically gets imported. And then next I want to bind things in to the container. And then let's see, if I want to work with our database instance, I could use a path to it using the namespace. So I could bind that key to a function that is responsible for building up the database object. That's what we're doing here.
What the fuck?
So I'm associating this little builder function with a string called
Sorry, I sweared.
core database. Okay, so if I were to go up to any place where we manually did it, like right here, let's switch back and paste it in here. Just like so. All right, and then we will return that from our function. Okay, and real quick, you'll notice that it's gray because I haven't set up the method signature on the container class, but we'll do that in just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I can see
That means he has not defined the method in container.php.
that we have a string, which would be like an identifier or a key for this binding. And then we have a function that is responsible for building up the object. It's almost like a little factory function. Okay, so let's do this. Let's open up a split, go into my container class so that you can see these side by side. And we'll say, accept some kind of key. All right, and then the second argument is our function here. Call it whatever you want. Some people make it super generic like this. I don't really love that, but you know, if you want to call it your builder or your factory function or your resolver, whatever you want here. Okay, so now when we bind something into the container, think about it, we need to store it somewhere. We need to save it. We need to cache it, just like with the router lesson. So I'm going to take mostly the same approach where I will have a field here called bindings. And then when I call this bind method, I will push to this array, almost identical to the router class. Okay, so I might do something.
Pause. I'm going to implement this in a minute, but let's just try and understand what's happening here. So this is the key, will be core database, and what is returned is a new, oh, that is super interesting. Super duper interesting. That's not too difficult to understand yet. Okay, so let's do this. This takes a key, and this is a function that resolves something, right? So I'll just, so he's calling it resolver, I will as well. Resolver. Okay, so this is a function that resolves something. The end result should be actually, you know what, binding should be here. Protect, excuse me, hero dollar protected is an empty array. Because we are inside a class, we should define what kind of this is variable. This is, it's a protected, and there should be bindings. Right. Okay, this is fine. Bindings equal, let's just for simplicity right now, bindings is Jesus return, I guess. Bindings, I misspelled return, programmer here, RETURN, return bindings, where this is key and this is resolver. Right. Okay, cool. Now if I use this in bootstrap.php, over here, in fact I have a much bigger screen, so I will split screen it. Split right. Okay, so I'm calling, instead of echoing works, let me call container equals new container, but I haven't imported it, right? So I'll import it here, use, in fact I can just smallify this, make it smaller, new core / container. Yes. What? Oh, I have to import it. Okay, that's fine. I'll do it. Does PHP auto import it? Oh, no, it doesn't. I meant VS Code. No, it doesn't. Okay, cool. Use container. Use database as well. Yeah, let's go. And container is new container, instantiated like this, I believe. Let's go. Then container bind. Why are you squarely? Undefined type core container. Here's container. Oh, I forgot to import the namespace core. Yeah. So good, so good. Okay, cool. Now let's add some values. Um, Container bind and key and resolver, right? So I'm gonna say, keep it simple, key value. Okay, for now, okay. And let me echo both of these out. Container and container. Value, I guess. Key. Okay. Why are you yelling? Unexpected string content empty, expecting blank. Oh, sorry. It's been so long since I concatenated anything. Still? What does it say? Can I die dump container? Let's just do that. Sorry, I forgot. Let's just do this. Okay. It is an empty array, even though I call the bind function. Okay, let's see how this works then. Because I'm returning. Oh, container bindings. So it contains one object. Yeah, bindings protected. Here it is. Container bindings. Can I access it? No, I can't. Error 500. If I change this to public then. But it's an array with nothing in it. Okay, let's see how he does it. I'll change it to protected again.
Like this. This bindings, this will be an associative array.
Jesus, I forgot the this keyword. This bindings. Okay, now it should work. Yeah, it does, of course. Okay, cool. Let's get this. No. Public. Right. Not public. Public. Still no. Protected. Container. What is container? Container has a associated. It's a object. I don't think I've seen this syntax before. It's an object with two arrays, key and value. It's a nested array, that's why I think. Okay, let him do this.
Okay, I'll give it the key, and I will make that equal to our resolver. Okay, so now if you think about it, the bindings array contains one item at this point.
I had to do this. Simple. Container. Yeah, just return this bindings array key equals resolver, not key and resolver. Yeah, I did it differently. I should rather. This makes a lot more sense. Simpler. Okay, let's see. Yeah, key value. Yeah, this makes a lot more sense. See, so he had passed in a function to get the value. Just to keep things simple, I passed in a string, which is this. So again, I can just say banana. This will be banana. See? Okay, so let's say container key, but it won't work. I think it will be container bindings key. Let's see. No, it's not. What's this then? I want to access this. I'm having trouble accessing it. Okay, we'll probably get there.
The key for that item is core/database, and the value associated with that item is a function that will build up the database class however is appropriate for your project, as you see here. All right, next within our resolve method, we want to do the opposite, right? We want to take the object out of the container. And how would we do that? Well, we will probably need to call or trigger this function and then return the result, right? Okay, so let's do that now. Resolve should accept a key. And that way I could say, for example, container resolve core database. And then this method would look into our bindings array and say, all right, do we have anything called core/database? Oh, yeah, we do. So let's find the resolver or the function associated with it, call it, that will trigger this code, and then return the result. So in effect, we would have a database instance fully built up and configured, ready to go when we call this method here. Okay, so let's do that. Okay.
It'll return this key bindings if they exist.
So we might say if array key exists, look for this key inside of the bindings array. In that case, we're good to go. So I could say, well, the resolver is this bindings key, and then I want to call that function. And there's a couple ways to do this, but why don't we stick with call user func. This will accept the name of our function, and it, well, calls it. And then finally, we will return the result. Okay, but now what about the situation?
What? The resolver valuable is this? Oh, did I say valuable? I mean resolver variable is this. and then you're returning it as a function. Okay.
Situation where you try to
So by convention, this is always a function.
resolve something that is not bound within the container, something like that. What should happen in this case? Okay, well, maybe we should reverse it. What if we do our guarding at the beginning? And I say, well, if not exists within the bindings, then yeah, we don't know what to do. We can't proceed. We have no idea what you want here. And in those situations, we can throw an exception, something like this: throw new exception. This is provided by PHP, and this is what you should do in exceptional situations. And then later, you can either catch those and respond to them however you need to, or you can just let them happen. Now, when we create an exception, we can give it a reason. So in this case, what is our reason? Well, we couldn't find a matching binding. So maybe, how about that? No matching binding found for your key. And yeah, once again, I can hit Option Enter in PHP Storm and switch that to string interpolation if you like that just a little better. Otherwise, if we get to this point, we're good to go. So I can remove this, then reformat, and yeah, I think we are off to the races.
Pause. Let me follow along. Instead of this simplistic thing, I'll call a function over here in Bootstrap. This is his Bootstrap, I believe. Yeah. He's binding core database. I'm going to take a break, but right after I finish following along until this point, then we're calling a function, a factory function if you may, which is an anonymous function, so we're just calling it right away. Okay, and to call it config base return new. So I'll just copy it from one of our controllers. The nodes controller. Yeah. Since I'm already importing it up top, I don't think I need this here. So I'll go here. Okay. Database new. I'm returning it instead of creating it like this. Return new database. Makes sense. Okay, now now I'm assigning a variable to it. Container resolve core database. So here we're saying put this into the bindings, and here we're saying remove this from the bindings. Okay, now I want to see, instead of this, I'll probably dd a tp. Fun word to say, ddtp. Close this. Over here, I'm gonna, in the resolver, if the key exists, we'll take in a key. And if it does not exist, give me a minute. I'll say array key exists. The opposite of array key exists key, and the array is this bindings. Okay, and close this. If this does not exist, throw an exception. Throw new backslash exception. And call that exception string interpolate key does not exist binding bindings. Okay, if it does exist, then return the resolver. So if it does, resolver variable equals this bindings, the value associated with the key. This bindings, this bindings, yeah, this bindings over here, the value associated with the key. And I can return it. That's what we're doing, right? I need a semicolon here. No, not here, but here. Right? We're returning the resolver, right?
Okay, so we know three formats.
Instead of returning it like that, we're returning, okay, it's assumed that it's a function, so call user function. Yeah, it's probably better that it's a function. Otherwise, we'll keep calling it all over the place while instantiating it. Okay, this makes sense. Let's see. So we resolved this as the DP object. I think I should get a DP object now. No, I don't. That's fine. But I think this is it for now. I'm gonna pause the video and be back in part 2 of this episode. This has already gone on for a while. Thank you for watching and learning with me, and please subscribe to Laracasts on YouTube, or check out the course for free on laracast.com. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.